Hello, ladies. Welcome to this week's live video, your weekly bliss tip, which I'm so excited to share with you today. As I mentioned in the post, this topic, where I'm going to go with you all today, was inspired by a live workshop that I presented to a room full of women just this past week. And as much as I have done that in the past, I will admit that I had a lot of nerves and anxiety and, the stage fright, everything that goes along with that leading up to it. And really just wishing it would go away and really wishing I could get to that place where I didn't feel those feelings. Hey, welcome, Elizabeth. This is going to be, hey, Carrie. Thank you, ladies, for joining. Elizabeth, this is going to sound familiar because it's a little blurb from my speech this Wednesday. So I was just sharing that I was really in this place of wishing that the anxiety and the panic and the fear would just go away. And what really helped me shift was to just start to accept the fact that I would feel nervous, that I would feel anxious, that I might feel shaky and tremble a little bit in my skin in front of this audience. Now, I've come a long way. I used to have a lot of this trepidation even around showing up online or doing Facebook Lives or live trainings. And now I have a lot more practice being virtual and doing audio or doing video. But when I get in front of a live audience, there's a whole nother level of confrontation and exposure and vulnerability that I can feel. And so what I was inspired to share with you is what I shared with them at the beginning, which is that I have done what a lot of people would have thought were really scary, really frightening things in my life. Starting from a young age, leaving home at age 15 and going on to really make radical moves, radical changes in my life and move and travel and live overseas in multiple different countries, multiple different times, oftentimes by myself, oftentimes relocating to places where I really didn't know anyone. I have trekked the second highest peak, second to Everest, and I have ice climbed in the Swiss Alps. I have rock climbed some of the most vertical faces in California, and I have left relationships. I have chosen to walk away from relationships I thought I would have been in forever because I knew I was meant for so much more than I was experiencing. And I could go on and on. And the reason I share this is not to boast or brag about how I've done all these incredible things. It's actually to confess that while someone from the outside looking in would have perceived those experiences and those choices as frightening and scary, what is actually still, even paragliding, I think I forgot to mention that, what is actually more what brings up more fear and more anxiety and more trepidation in me is standing in front of a live audience and presenting and sharing my message and really expressing myself and finding my voice. And I love to be transparent about that because I recognize that we all, and so many of the women who come to me and who work with me, we all have a version in which we are postponing our lives and waiting to live the lives that are burning in our hearts. That we are keeping a lid on the woman that we really desire to be and know we are here to more fully embody. And when we wait until we are ready, quote unquote ready. The way I used to do, I used to knew I wanted to be on stage. I knew I wanted to be more visible. I knew I wanted to put myself out there in more bold, bigger ways. And yet I always wanted to feel more ready. I believed I needed to be more confident, have more courage, and I wanted to be so fearless that I was totally unfazed, almost to the point of being untouchable. And in that I believed I would feel safe, and I would feel impermeable, and I would feel untouchable by the risk or the fear of rejection or the fear of humiliation or feeling foolish. There was a lot of waiting in that. And when we wait and we postpone and we delay and we stop ourselves, we deprive ourselves of the incredible pleasure and the incredible freedom that lives in that experience of embodying more of the woman we really desire to be. The next phase I went through was, initially it was something it was a quality I had to get from outside of myself. I had to get the fearlessness. I had to get the confidence. I had to get the courage. And then I would feel ready. And then I would feel safe and totally empowered to step out. Then it shifted to, this is a quality that I need to cultivate within myself. Now, that is closer to the truth, because anytime we are desiring more expansion and more from our lives, it's really an indicator of we're desiring more of ourselves to come online. So that is closer to the truth. And yet I took it it wasn't conscious, but I evolved into an even third stage, which is where my desire for that pleasure, the pleasure of that freedom and that expansion, that desire to really step into even more of the woman I was here to be, became way more compelling than the fear that was threatening to keep me the same. The fear that was threatening to keep me small and that would keep me hiding. Keep me continuing to hide, however that goes. And so while yes, I am so passionate about my work in the world, and I'm super inspired when I have an opportunity to show up and serve and make a difference in someone's life. And I know when someone is going to sit in front of me and receive that, their lives are potentially going to be changed forever. That moves me. And what moves me just as much is the experience I get to have and the pleasure of that. And that is compelling for me, is really look at what's in it for me. This is an opportunity for me to liberate myself from all the ways in which I have been waiting to live my life, or keeping a lid on it, or hiding out, or playing safe, or continuing to be who I have been instead of who it is I really desire to be. So it might not be public speaking for you. It might not be the visibility, the exposure, but I guarantee there's something inside of you. There's some way in which you are being pushed open from the inside. Some element of that version of you, that next level version of your life that is burning in your heart, that you are in some way avoiding or waiting on or not choosing. And so my secret was, my new strategy was, instead of wait until I'm ready, my secret, as I shared with this beautiful group of ladies the other day, was it's like courage. It's about choosing to step into it, choosing to do it anyways, and feel everything that goes along with that. So my secret was in, yes, there are so many sensations running through my body and so many feelings moving through me. That is a lot to contain, and it's a lot to be with. And my secret is to drop even deeper down and into my own body, to be even more fully with myself, and to actually love and accept and embrace myself more, not less, in the face of all of that inner turmoil. Because the fastest way to become everything you've ever wanted to be is by loving yourself exactly as and where you are. And when you cultivate that capacity, when you are able to be with any sensation, when you are able to accept and embrace and be with any emotion and stand in that fire, then nothing is off limits to you. And so really what I'm speaking to as I was preparing for today's live, I thought of that really, we all know it. I trust we all know it, that famous quote by Anai Nin, something to the effect of, I think we pronounce it in English as, well, I'm going to go with the French pronunciation. I trust you know who I'm referring to. But the quote was something to the effect of, the day came when the pain of remaining closed tightly in a bud became greater than the pain it would require to blossom. And she was speaking to these growing pains that I am kind of referencing today. And those growing pains, that is the initiation. That is kind of the threshold that that portal we have to walk through. Because in every moment, in every day, we are faced with that choice of, am I going to be who I have been? Or am I going to step forward, take that next step towards who I desire to be? That next level version of myself and my life, and really start to inhabit her. And so all of that to say, I just invite you to reflect on, where have you been stopping yourself? Where have you been waiting to live the life and embody that version of you that's burning in your heart? What is that version of stopping yourself and waiting and postponing and delaying until you are ready? What is the version of that for you right now in this season of your life? And really, where are you? Because all of that is where you are depriving yourself of the pleasure, of the delight, of the joy, of the freedom of being more of the woman you desire to be. And so I'm just inviting you to consider, what would it take for you to lean into that just a little bit more? And like for me, what is the why? What is the reason? What is the purpose that could become more compelling for you, that could actually pull you out of hiding, out of waiting, out of postponing, out of stopping yourself, that could pull you out of that would be more compelling than the fear that continues to run the show or threaten you to stay the same? Because that's what it took for me. And that's still what it takes for me. Like showing up on stage in front of this room full of women, I still had, I mean, to be totally honest, there were moments when I thought, oh, I hope it's going to snow and that this thing gets canceled. Or I hope that the hostess calls me and said, "Oh, we have to reschedule or something like this." And even the day of, I arrived early to get the PowerPoint set up and the screen all ready and my computer hooked up, and nobody was arriving. The room was empty except for the audiovisual person helping me, and it was getting closer to the time and nobody was arriving, and I thought it must be the wrong day or something, and I was feeling relieved. So yes, in all honesty, I was kind of praying for the whole thing to be canceled and to be spared that challenging moment. And so I say all of that to just expose the fact that even all the way up to the moment, all the way up to the last minute, I am still reaching for my why that compels me out of that trance of waiting to live and waiting and depriving myself of everything I've ever wanted to be. And the first step is you can borrow my secret, which is to love yourself into that next level version. Love yourself fiercely. Accept everything you're feeling. Don't expect and don't require whatever resistance or fear or anxiety that comes up. Don't require that to be gone in order for you to lean into this next level expansion. Because the sweetness of the freedom that lives on the other side is so worth it. And the growing pains can really be alchemized into an incredible amount of pleasure and delight and just the exquisite feeling of liberation and expansion that is available for you in that process. So I am here to support you. I am just thrilled to have kind of shared a little snippet from this live event that I presented at. And if, as you're listening, if there's an edge that you're confronting in this, just know that I'm here to support you. If you want to circle back, if you're catching the replay, I'd love to help you just kind of take those next steps as you reflect on some of these concepts and some of these home play reflections over the weekend, and really consider for yourself, what are you inspired to commit to after listening? And I'd love to hear. So wishing you all a beautiful weekend, and thanks for tuning in. Ciao.